guitars. Let's go build some junk. Okay, I I can't now very accurately measure the angle of that headstock, but I think we are still pretty close to 10 degrees. So what I did here was I drew me a line for the fretboard platform and angled off of this point at 10 degrees. Now, initially I was thinking we needed to move 1/8 of an inch, so it would be the center of a quarter. But that's not actually true. We need to move that whole shelf to the back side of the nut because that's going to be the shelf that the nut actually sits on. I need the center to be about there. Well, yeah, something like that. So 1/8 of an inch behind that, and that actually gives me about a 1/2 an inch we need to move. Now, I've been thinking all week about the fact that a little bit of thickness here is going to make a big difference up here. And I figured it was about the same. Another solution that I didn't mention because I didn't really think we had the room to do it was we could shave more off the fretboard platform to move that break point further down the head, toward the head. But either way, we're looking at about 1/8 of an inch of material. So we would either have to take off 1/8 of an inch, which I don't think we can, and it doesn't sound like a good solution anyway, or we can add 1/8 of an inch here. My concern with that is it's going to be really thin, and I don't know if it's going to look weird. Add to that I don't have a piece of that veneer handy. It's thin, but it's not, paper thin. So that's going to add to that too. So yeah, I think we're going to try to thickness this red heart down to 1/8 of an inch. Get it and the veneer in place, and then we can slowly work that down to wherever we actually need it. Now we can't really do anything on the neck until we have this ironed out and we know exactly where our nut placement is. The two things that matter when you're building a neck is the center line and the nut line. I mean, that's not all that matters, but those are the two most important things. Those are your frames of reference. We're going to have to get the thickness planer out, and as long as I'm doing that, we might as well cut some fretboard stock, especially since we can't do much else anyway. But I'm going to flatten this piece of 2x4 and get it, thicknessed so that it's a perfect thickness. And then we're going to mount this on there along with a couple pieces of ash to mitigate the snipe. And we will just run this until we get our red heart down to the thickness we want. In the meantime, I've been trying to think a little bit about how we're going to do our head plate too. As long as we're dealing with the head anyway. This offcut I think will work real well for doing what I want to do. I kind of would have liked to have had a little more interesting grain in there other than the straight stuff, but it's not that big of a deal. And the color right here is going to match. I mean, it came off of the same piece, so it's going to match the wingate on the top. So anyway, that's the plan for today, I guess. I ordered a truss rod early last weekend. Usually Stu Mac is really good at getting things delivered to me within like minutes almost. Usually a couple days max. And it's Sunday and it ain't here yet, so we could still flatten the back of the neck, and there's nothing wrong with that. It needs to be done anyway at some point. And it would be good to see exactly how much material we got to work with. You know, if we just run out of things to do, we could also cut some fretboard material. Which, I mean, like I said, since I got to pull the thickness planer out anyway, we'll probably do that. Just because it's not going to be hard. We'll just, you know, cut this to dimension and then resaw it on the bandsaw and then thickness those pieces. So I need to pick which side I like better before we do that. I'm kind of thinking this side. Yeah. Anyway, that's the plan for today. So stick around. It's gonna be interesting. Or something. It's gonna be something. Also, while we're here, I'm gonna straighten up and flesh out the volute a little bit, since we're basing most of our nut moving decisions on that anyway. Full disclosure, we didn't do a real good job lining those up when we were putting stripes together. Not the biggest deal in the world. The core, of course, is most important. Honestly, I like to kind of oval it a little toward the higher end. Just because it fits your hand a little better. But this is our real peak, which is closer to this one. This one's a little ahead. But we'll try to clean that up a little bit just so we have a clear picture of where that is going to be. This looks real bad, but it's not that big a deal. It's normal, at least, you know, in my process. You know, a lot of the back is coming off once we get a head plate, and this added piece, this is going to be quite a bit thicker and need to come down quite a bit. And it leaves plenty of room for some meat on the volute. So, not a big deal. We're just, this is not, I don't know, you might consider part of my process boneheaded, but in my estimation, this is not a bonehead. This was planned. Not necessarily planned, but it's part. It factors into. It's a side effect of my plan. So. I should stop that in the interest of avoiding Wenge splinters. Ah! Yeah, like that. Yeah, we really have no extra thickness to play with. I mean, not much. Most of this will need to come down about 1/8 of an inch. Maybe a little more. Right here we're at 3/4 of an inch, and we need to be closer to 5/8. And then we just get fatter from there. So about 1/8 of an inch, we got room to play. freaking Cerakote, man. I'm gonna have a hard time picking a piece. Just. I think the other side has a little better character, but my God, I don't know. That's gonna be tricky picking a piece. I thicknessed these almost to a 1/4 inch thick. I left them a little bit fatter than that, just a hair. But we got fretboard stock. I guess now it's time to find out how this went. That's pretty much an 1/8 of an inch thick. Wow. So what I'm thinking at the moment, get our veneer and this guy, go ahead and get them mounted. Then we'll clean this up and then see what we got to do with the rest of it. See where that lands the new nut line, and then, you know, thickness down however much we need to get to where we need to be. I can't think of a better way to try to do that. So this poor guy needs to get sharpened. It's not doing a bad job. Okay. I hope I don't come to regret this. I can't think of a reason not to. That's funny, that's what comes to mind every time I pick up my glue is, I can't think of a reason not to do this. It shows how many times I glued something up and thought, shit. However, I want to mark my center. Or transpose my center line. Just cause it does not matter in the slightest, but I want that veneer stuck to the red hair. I think it'll be a little easier to visualize what I'm doing later, and help me trim the extra without it tearing. Now I suppose we can take a look at this. Okay, what I did a little bit ago, just to try to get an idea of what I wanted to do, because I think it's going to be a little weird trying to route a smaller piece, get the complementary curve to where it fits, and actually be able to see what I'm doing when I do that. I know what I'm thinking. I can't put it into words that are intelligible. But anyway, I, with my templates together, drew from my head template, where I think I kind of want that, because I want the Wenge to overtake most of that. Alright, and from this offcut, fits pretty well. So, I mean, we can trim a little bit out of this and then be able to route it. I think without too much trouble. Okay, but anyway, I did use my template to try to map out. So when we find a piece of ash, I know where to put it on this template. So we'll get two pieces that come together, and then we can, you know, just have a single piece to cut the head plate out of. Now we have an opportunity to find, you know, a particular piece that will strategically look kind of good. But then again, all this is just going straight, so hell, I don't know. Just pick a spot and go with it. Okay. Basically corner to corner. So we make sure we're covering enough real estate for the head and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, something kind of like that. I love it. However, I don't know if we're deep enough in with the wenge for the inlay. Doesn't really matter. It could overlap. It'd be all right. But we may shift around and adjust a little bit to make sure. But the curve is done. Okay, we had it about right there. The logo usually winds up about in there, but we're looking at doing a bigger logo this time. So I think I like that. I don't want to get too far off of the, you know, the grain, but I think I like that. Just like that. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I kind of feel like we might ought to go ahead and just glue that up, and then the placement doesn't need to be set in stone. We get this glued up, and we will have, you know, all of this surface that we can deal with. But I like that. I think I really like that. Like a lot. Yeah. Okay, let's glue this up real quick. That is so awesome. Okay, so well, there were a few other things I would have liked to have done today, and I wish we had our truss rods so we could do that, but we don't. So hopefully by next week, we'll see how next week goes. Next week is Christmas, and I'm going to have family in town, so we'll see how much time I can squeeze into the shop. I do have a lot of time off, and a bunch of family's going to be in town too, so I may, you know, have extra time to escape to the shop, or need extra time in the shop. We'll see. Anyway, if I miss you next week, Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas if you're British. Aussies, I don't know what you guys say. Next time, we got some material to do a head plate out of. So we can get our red heart and veneer cleaned up on our existing head surface, get that all straightened out. And I mean, it's going to be a while before we need a head plate, but it's there, ready. We've got a fretboard blank that we can, well, a couple to choose from. So when we get to that point, we can do that. I guess the next little chores we could do is cut some strips for binding. Again, not in a big ass hurry. I'm just, thinking of some things we can do while we wait for hardware to show up. We can cut some strips for binding, start getting that ready. We could, actually start producing a fretboard. I just don't feel like doing it just yet. And I don't know, I want to see this play out. Make sure all that's going alright, and then move on from there. But I think that's it for today. Thanks for sticking around. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And I will see you next week. Probably. Most likely. I bet you. Anyway, everybody be safe. Thanks for joining me. If you like what we're doing, if you're digging it, like and subscribe. Catch you next time.